Hello and welcome back to yet another video on the Alejandro Hernandez podcast. And this is the final part 7 of grading head coaching hires in the NFL this offseason. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the New Orleans Saints and Kellen Moore. And I'm going to be giving this the lowest grade out of the 7. I believe that this grade is a C- in my opinion. And it's not necessarily because of Kellen Moore. It's just in the current situation the Saints are in right now. They're in complete rebuild mode. And in terms of their roster construction, they probably are in the worst situation out of any team in the NFL. And it's because they're in cap hell. Right now, they are $78.5 million over the cap limit. And they have zero available money to spend in this upcoming free agency. They actually have to release certain players in order to open up space. And they just have an overall aging roster. They're still living off kind of that success that they had with Drew Brees, but they haven't really adapted post-Drew Brees era. They still have players such as Cam Jordan. They have players such as Demario Davis and Alvin Kamara still from that team, but they're aging and they're old and they're injury prone, specifically Alvin Kamara, who had a healthy 2024 season, but in terms of his overall career, he hasn't really been as reliable as the Saints would hope for. And heading into 2025, I believe he's going to have a regression year. And it's also a big decision time in this offseason on what they're going to do with their quarterback, Derek Carr, who they signed to a huge extension 2 years ago. And he's set to have a $30 million cap hit in 2025. So it's interesting to see what they're going to do now, bringing in a new head coach, whether they're going to retain Derek Carr or they're going to cut him. And cutting him would free up a lot of money, but they would also take on another big dead cap hit, which they can't afford. So I'm assuming they're going to carry Derek Carr's contract and they're going to have him as a starter in 2025. And that's another player who's kind of old and unreliable when it comes to injury. He was injured for the majority of the 2024 season, and it kind of ruined the Saints' season overall. They had players like Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed out for the year. They just got decimated by injuries in 2024. And while they are going to get those players back, it's just, I believe that the Saints have no hope at competing in 2025 given their strength of their division. The Panthers are now up and coming. They had a very positive end to 2024. The Falcons are obviously going to be in contention for the division like they were this year with Michael Penix heading into his second year. Obviously, you have Tampa Bay, who has ruled the division for the past 4 years. So I believe the Saints are the worst team in their division and arguably the worst team in the NFC. And I believe that they're going to be in kind of the draft lottery and in a complete rebuild in 2025. And I also believe that they have a bottom 5 offensive line, and heading into this offseason, they only have 5 draft picks. So they can't spend money in free agency, and they only have 5 picks. So what trades are they going to make? They don't have any great trade value for players, and they don't have draft picks. So they can't really make additions to the roster this offseason at all. So it's going to be a tough offseason and a tough kind of transition into this new era for the Saints. And yeah, they're going to be one of the worst teams in 2025, in my opinion. And they're going to be looking for a quarterback, a new franchise quarterback in next year's draft. And what really confuses me about this hire is why Kellen Moore would leave the Eagles. He was coming off leading the NFL's top offense, the NFL's top running game with all that talent. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. He had all that talent to work with as an offensive coordinator, had so much success. Yet he takes a job with the Saints. Probably the worst out of the 7 job openings was the one that Kellen Moore took. And I guess it's due in large part that he was on a Super Bowl team, so most of the head coaches got hired during the playoffs, and while Kellen Moore couldn't get hired because he was on his way to winning the Super Bowl. So that's why I'm assuming the last head coaching spot was only available for him. And he took it. And I guess he took it because he wanted a promotion from his offensive coordinator position. He wants to become a head coach. The way that most coordinators want to be promoted. They want to be promoted to head coaches. They want to lead their own team. They want to make a name for themselves. And I believe that's what Kellen Moore's doing. He's now the youngest head coach in the NFL. Some of his players are older than him. Cam Jordan's older than him, which is pretty interesting to think about. But it's going to be a tough transition for the Saints franchise. And I believe that they're going to have a rough 2025 season, given that their roster is old and injury prone. Derek Carr's injury prone, Alvin Kamara's injury prone, Chris Olave obviously with his concussion issues, Rashid Shaheed coming off a torn ACL, their defense getting older, Demario Davis, Cam Jordan. They just really have nothing going for them right now heading into 2025. They only have 5 draft picks, the 9th overall pick, no cap space to work with. It's going to be a tough transition and a tough 2025 season. And I believe that they'll be patient with Kellen Moore. I think they know the situation they're in, that this rebuild's going to take some time. And they're going to give him the time to work it out. they're going to give him a new quarterback to work with next year. But in terms of team success in 2025, I see none of that for the Saints in this upcoming season. And that is going to be it for this video. And I'll see you guys next time when I release my Giants realistic offseason rebuild. And I'll be releasing that video soon. But until then, I'll see you guys next time.